Ah, shit. Get your tea and your popcorn because we have hit yet another psychological jackpot. That's right, the almighty Yellow Bones, the almighty Mulattoes, Doja Cat, and Latto have successfully rage baited black women into making their new song a hit. And by the way, this is actually a very common social strategy that a lot of exoticals use. All you have to do is exist, and your existence is going to be a form of rage bait for women with inferiority complexes. And then they're going to get so mad that they're going to make you go viral. And then you're going to gain even more traction and more popularity. Very similar to what happened to E. Kane. So E. Kane gained 900,000 subscribers after being called colorist because the unambiguous black community, they were promoting her. They don't understand that every time you talk about someone, every time you mention their name, every time you mention their song or their talking points, you're just popularizing them even more. So be sure to check out Doja Cat and Latto's song. But my question is, if you're not dating black men, why do you care what black men are doing? Like in the music video, it shows Doja and Latto just kind of dancing and basically being desired by these dark skinned black men. And it's like, why is it that black women suddenly want to throw on the cape for black men? And they're saying, oh, well, you're fetishizing those dark skinned black men. Stop doing that. Stop putting black men in your music videos. And it's like, okay, black men themselves aren't even complaining about this. I don't see dark skinned black men making YouTube videos saying, oh, I'm mad that like my image was used in Doja Cat's video. No, it's black women saying that. So this is proof that they are fake divestors, just like I said. They're fake divestors. A lot of the things that they're doing are to try to take a dig at mixed women. So them bragging online, saying that they date white men or whatever, they're trying to compete with multiracial women. They're trying to compete with women lighter than them. That's why they come onto my channel and announce that light-skinned men like them, or they try to announce that they're more desirable. And now they're kind of doing something similar where they're saying, wait, you're not allowed to use our men. Hey, stop stealing our men, Doja Cat and Latto. Why are you stealing our dark-skinned black men and putting them in the music video? And it's like, you didn't want them in your music videos, and you also didn't want them in your dating life either. So why do you care what they're doing? It's the same reaction that they had to Tyla. Remember how Tyla, a couple years ago, she did that photo shoot with dark-skinned black men in the background, and they were like, oh, this is colorist. And it's like, okay, so what color should the men be in the music video? If they would have had all white or light-skinned men, then you would have definitely said it's colorist, because you would have said, oh, there are no dark-skinned people in the music video. So that's colorist. Everybody in the music video is light-skinned. But then it's also colorist if everyone in the music video is dark-skinned. And then I saw them saying stuff like, oh, well, that's what biracials do. They use dark-skinned people as props. No, you view yourself as a prop. For biracial people, you view yourself as being the dark-skinned sidekick. That's one of their main insecurities. They'll be like, if you're dark-skinned, they'll be like, oh, biracials, they view you as a sidekick. They just view you as like a fetish. They're just viewing you as a kink. Meanwhile, I've been hearing black women recently saying that they love being fetishized. So if you support fetishization, why would you get mad about these guys being fetishized? You literally admitted on your own channels that you like being fetishized now. You like being fetishized by white men. You like it when someone lighter than you fetishizes you. So why are you mad that someone lighter than these dark-skinned men is fetishizing them? Do you see the double standard? And then I saw another comment where somebody was like, oh, look, it's the two biracials. One of them wants to be white and the other one wants to be black. So they say that, Latto is the one who wants to be black. And it's like, oh, wait a minute, Latto, the same one who was a side chick and got pregnant by that guy and she's a baby mama? What do you mean that's acting black? What do you mean she wants to be black? What does that say about you? You're literally admitting that you view being a side chick and baby mama as being black. And then for all the women who are saying Doja Cat wants to be white, well, are you saying that because she dates white men and hangs out in white spaces? Okay, so then what does that say about the swirlers and divestors then? I could make the same argument then. You want to be white. You want to be white because you're acting like Doja Cat by dating white men and going to Paris and dating men from France. Okay, so then you're the same thing. And this is very common amongst women with inferiority complexes. They will make fun of exoticals for doing something, and then they will be doing that exact same behavior secretly. They're over here shaming Lotto, saying she's black or she's trying to be black by dating black men and getting pregnant by them. Meanwhile, a lot of women in the black community have babies by black men. The woman typing the comments, she probably has a black baby daddy that looks like the guys in the Lotto music video. Also, I have a theory that a lot of women with inferiority complexes, they become especially jealous when an exotical has this early 2000s aesthetic, because I noticed they kind of did the Y2K thing in their video, kind of like a video vixen type of aesthetic, especially Doja Cat with the sunglasses. So I feel like that's extra triggering because most women with inferiority complexes, they grew up watching video vixens who look just like Doja Cat. And so it's almost reminding them like, oh shit, here goes that same phenotype again that I could never measure up to. Here goes that same type of look, here comes another yellow bone. Here comes another light skin. And it's like, wait a minute, I thought that you canceled them. Remember? I thought Lotto got canceled when she called that one girl an orangutan. What happened to that? I thought that you didn't even listen to Lotto's music anymore. I thought you didn't listen to Doja Cat's music anymore. So why do you even know that they have a new song out? So this is another bad social climbing tactic. They have a habit of making women famous that they hate. And so, that's actually a part of your privilege as an exotical. Women's hatred for you actually fuels your success. It fuels your fame. It fuels your popularity because the women who make hate videos about you, they end up drawing more people to your channel. They make people more curious. Like, wow, who is this girl that's got these bitches so mad? Like, how is she able to turn these women into angry black women? And, that's just another day in the life of an exotical. You'll just be existing, looking cute, wearing a bikini, and then next thing you know, you just created an angry black woman just by existing, and you're a colorist if you have a dark-skinned person in the background. But then you're also colorist if you have no dark-skinned people in your videos at all. And then I saw people commenting on Reddit. They were like, oh, they edited out Doja Cat's boob job scars. And it's like, first of all, why are you memorizing the amount of boob jobs that Doja Cat get? Like, do you see how high our pedestal is, Pretty Girl Club? People are memorizing if we get surgeries. They're memorizing, oh, well, you should have a scar right there because you had a boob job. They just have to call it out. They have to call out if you have a BBL. They have to call out if you have a boob job or nose job or a weave or whatever. And so there are people who were zooming into the video, literally zooming in underneath Lotto's boob on her bikini, saying that, oh, well, she doesn't have a scar there. Well, that's not fair. That's an unhealthy beauty standard. You should show their scars. You should be showing if they have cellulite. Like that's unrealistic. Why are you smoothing them out in the video? And it's like, why is it that everybody else, they can smooth their photos, they can put filters all over their shit, they can get the most crazy ass nose job that you've ever seen in your life, they could have crazy BBLs, they could get the biggest boob job ever, and then people say, stay out of black women's business, protect black women. Well, we have the freedom to do what we want with our bodies. It's my body, my choice. Okay, but then suddenly when it's Doja Cat, it shouldn't be her choice. Suddenly, Latto and Doja Cat are not allowed to edit or smooth out their stretch marks. They're supposed to be showing all their scars. They're supposed to be showing any stretch marks that they may have. Because if they don't, then they're being a bad role model in terms of beauty standards. And do you see what I mean? That's proof that we're on the pedestal. Because it's like, why is it that Doja Cat has to suddenly be your body image role model? And then they were like, oh, also Doja Cat, she didn't even show herself shaking her ass. Like, she should have shown more because she had a lyric in the song where it's like, oh, I'm going to shake what I got. Because Doja Cat, she doesn't have a BBL. I don't think. She's kind of skinny or she has like a slim body type. So she's like, oh, I'm going to shake what I got. And then people were complaining. They're like, they didn't show her shaking what she had. They only showed Latto, who has a big booty. They only showed Latto shaking her ass. They didn't show Doja Cat. And it's like, how obsessed are you to the point where you're memorizing the number of ass shakes that I do in a music video? So on the one hand, you have people saying, oh, well, that it's being ratchet if you shake your ass. But then on the other hand, you have people implying that it was boring, that Doja Cat, that she wasn't doing a lot of twerking in the music video. And then people are like, oh, well, they're just wearing a lot of shapewear. Like, that's the only reason their bodies look good. It's like, ma'am, they're wearing bikinis. Like, you can't see any shapewear. That's their actual stomach. Get over it. Just because you've never had a flat stomach in your life, just because you've never had a thin and healthy body, it doesn't mean that everything about these women is just fake. And I've noticed that's one of their main talking points against Exoticals is, you're not pretty, the surgeries are pretty. Well, you're not pretty. It's just the boob job that's pretty. Oh, well, you're not pretty, Latto. It's just that you got a BBL and you just got a tummy tuck and you're just wearing shapewear. That's the only reason you're pretty. They have a problem admitting when anyone is pretty and that person looks different than them. They only say that someone's pretty if she's black and dark skinned. I notice that they're not going to admit that you're pretty if you don't look like them. Like, if you're lighter than them, they're not going to say you're pretty. They can't admit that. If your body is more in shape than theirs, they won't be able to admit that either. They're going to say, oh, you're just wearing a girdle. You're just wearing a waist trainer. That's the only reason you look snatched. And also, for the people saying that the casting is colorist, it's like, bitch, her name is Mulatto. She clearly is not scared of you. Latto is not scared of the black community. She said, bitch, my name is Mulatto. Yes, I called this girl an orangutan. And bitch, yes, I'm going to cast some dark-skinned guys, and then they're going to have do-rags and like chains on, and then I'm going to be dancing on them. Latto is one of those people where she doesn't give a fuck. And actually, same thing with Doja Cat as well. Neither of these women give a fuck about what unambiguous women have to say about their music, clearly. Because if these women were truly that scared of the black community, then they would have never made this music video, you know? So I think that's another thing that rage baits people. When women realize that you're not scared of them, I've noticed when some black women realize that they can't bully you, that makes them even more upset. You know, they realize that they can't call you a colorist. You're not scared of being called colorist. You're not scared of being called racist. And to expect somebody like Latto to be pro-black, or to expect somebody like Doja Cat to be pro-black, it's just laughable to me. You put all these pro-black hotep expectations on these Exoticals, and that's another thing that proves my talking point. They need us to be their representation. They need us to fix quote-unquote colorism. They view us as the colorism saviors. They view us as the black community fixers. They view us as the face of their race. That's why they'll say things like, oh, well, Latto just looks black. Everybody looks like Latto. Everybody looks like Beyonce, because we are the saviors. You know, we're supposed to be their knight in shining armor. We are their Superman. We are their Jesus Christ. We are their Messiah. We're supposed to save them and save the world from being colorists. You know, we're supposed to put on this cape. And I guess we were supposed to cast dark-skinned black women in the background. Like, who should they have put in the background of their music video? That's my question. Who should they have cast? Because no matter what, they would have still been called colorist. If all the guys would have been light-skinned or white, they would be called colorists, because they'd be like, oh, there's no diversity. There are no dark-skinned people. If they would have put black women in the background, kind of this girl power type of thing, they would have been like, no, you're making those dark-skinned women the sidekick. So they would have found a way to complain, regardless of what they put in the video. And by the way, unambiguous black women, they pay more attention to Exoticals than anyone else, because Coco Jones just released a new song, and she released a new video, and Latto and Doja Cat are the ones being talked about. They do this all the time. They will bypass Kelly Rowland. You know, they ignore Kelly Rowland. They ignore Normani. They're calling Coco Jones boring. They said Coco Jones is boring, so apparently being able to sing is boring, being able to dance is boring, being dark-skinned and in shape is boring, because that's what they say about Coco Jones. And instead, they choose to focus all their energy talking about the music of the women that they hate. And that's just another day in the life of an Exotical. You know, you are the talk of the town. You get treated like a celebrity more than unambiguous women. This is according to what I'm seeing on YouTube. They're making more videos right now about Doja Cat and Latto. They're popularizing their video. It's already at, I think, 4 million views. It's only been a couple of days. Meanwhile, Coco Jones was crying on the internet, and same with Ari Lennox. Ari Lennox is another one where she was crashing out, and Lizzo was also crashing out as well. All of these women are crashing out. Sky Jackson is crashing out as well right now. You know, all these people who are not biracial, they're wanting the attention of these dark-skinned black women. They want to be supported by them. But no, instead, those women would rather focus on the almighty biracials. They'd rather focus on the almighty Exoticals and how many scars Doja Cat has underneath her boobs, and whether or not Latto is wearing shapewear in her video. If Latto was wearing shapewear, who cares? She still looks good as fuck. So what are you talking about? Her wearing shapewear would not cancel out her beauty. You wearing shapewear, that cancels out your beauty. So that's why you're trying to put it onto Latto. If you had scars or stretch marks, that would cancel your beauty. That would cancel your pretty privilege. That's why you're trying to project that onto these random celebrities. And it's so hilarious how a lot of black women, they'll try to put on the cape for black men whenever they want to come against Exoticals. They'll be like, oh, you're stereotyping dark-skinned black men negatively because, you put chains and do-rags on these men. So you're making it like all black men are YNs. That's not what they said in the video. They didn't say anything about them being YNs. The whole theme of the video was like talking to a guy in jail or whatever. It was another creative theme of a video, just like they have videos where it's based in different areas. And by the way, for those of you who are Latto fans, a lot of Latto's videos are kind of like they take place in the hood. It's supposed to represent like what she likes or her background. And this is a Latto music video featuring Doja Cat. So Latto uses a lot of the hood aesthetic, and that's a part of her background. Well, some people are saying that she's actually from the suburbs and that she is not even from the hood. And it's like, okay, so are you saying that someone not being from the hood, does that take away from their blackness? Because why are you trying to equate hood to being black? That's another problem. You're literally using anti-blackness against biracial people. And then, of course, you had people bringing up slavery, and they're like, oh no, they're trying to make it like they're the house slaves and like the black men are their slaves. And it's like, why is it that no matter what you do, if there's somebody dark-skinned in the video, there's always going to be a black woman bringing up slavery? The video said nothing about slavery. There was nothing about them being in the fields picking cotton. Nobody was being whipped or like chained up or anything. So you're literally just equating dark skin with slavery. So who's the real colorist? And like I said, unambiguous black women, they seem to love colorists and they love colorism because remember, they support Fenty Beauty. Rihanna has several babies by a man who they called colorist. They still buy Fenty Beauty. They're begging Rihanna to create an album. Their queen bee, Beyonce, has been heavily accused of being a colorist. Tina Knowles has been accused of being colorist against Kelly, and, they stereotyped Beyonce's family. They said that Beyonce's family, that they used to say things like, oh, don't go out in the sun too much. People said that even Beyonce's family would try to make sure that Beyonce's the lightest in the group and that she stands out more. Even Matthew Knowles said that Kelly Rowland, she couldn't get as far as Beyonce because Kelly was too dark. So the black community, they love colorists. They support colorist people all the time. They grew Ekane's YouTube channel. She's got millions of subscribers after being called colorist. They begged Cardi B to start a hair care line for them. And this is the same woman that called them roaches, allegedly. And, she said a whole bunch of racist and colorist stuff. Same thing with Nicki Minaj. Nicki Minaj, she had a lot of fans that were in the black community when she was making music, but Nicki Minaj, they said that she was colorist and texturist. And also, don't forget that their current queen, Meg Thee Stallion, does not identify as being dark-skinned and black. The only time she did identify with that was when she wanted sympathy for the whole Tory Lanez thing. When she got shot, she was dark-skinned, but then before that, she was calling herself a red bone. She was not identifying as a dark-skinned black woman. She was identifying as Creole, and she was showing pictures of her mother in order to prove that. So they love colorism. What are you talking about? They love colorist people. They love colorism. They love people who don't want to represent them. And then anytime somebody does want to represent them, such as Coco Jones or Ari Lennox or Normani, they ignore those women so they could gossip about the talk of the town, the popular, the almighty, the Exoticals. And also, it's like a lot of women don't realize maybe Latto and Doja Cat's music is not meant for you. And I'm not even trying to be disrespectful right now, but just being honest, I never viewed Latto or Doja Cat's music as being geared towards unambiguous black women because that's just not the vibe that they give off. I always viewed Doja Cat and even Tinashe as being multiracial types of music, kind of like crossover pop. That's how I view the two of them. So they are never advertising to really a black audience from my perspective. And even with Latto, her music seems to advertise to an audience of black men and kind of light-skinned country girls or kind of like these mixed country biracial black girls. That's how Latto's music comes off to me. So for unambiguous black women to assume that they're the core audience, or that they're the ones that these women are trying to impress, for them to assume that Latto and Doja Cat are trying to impress us, dark-skinned black women, that's actually laughable to me, because I don't actually think that's what they're doing. And I think that Latto, especially, she would have never called herself mulatto. That would have never been her original name if she was trying to cater to unambiguous dark-skinned black women. She would not be keeping her hair blonde and, making it curly or wearing it curly all the time and showing unambiguous black men alongside herself. She wouldn't be doing that. And so I think it's also an interesting dynamic how unambiguous black women, they center themselves in mixed women's music. And they can't fathom that these mixed women could possibly be making music for other mixed women, or they could be making music for mixed women who date black men, like Latto. Latto does that all the time. Like Latto's Sugar Honey Iced Tea, I loved that project that she did. She's really good at her music videos. I love her aesthetic and stuff. So Latto's music and Doja Cat, it's hilarious that unambiguous women think that they are the center. They complain that biracial women are constantly centering themselves. And it's like, no, you are centering yourself in biracial women's business. You're centering yourself in biracial women's music. How do you know that their music is geared directly towards you? It's not, clearly, because if it was, then they would have thought about you before they made their videos. They would have thought about you before they continuously dated white men or distanced themselves from blackness. And they definitely would have thought about you before they named their stage name mulatto, for God's sakes. Why would somebody name their stage name after mixed people and then their audience is supposed to be just unambiguous black people? No. Some women are multiracial and multicultural, and they make multiracial and multicultural music. And that includes multiracial hood music, multiracial ghetto aesthetic. That's very common, especially in the Y2K era. And I really think that's what the majority of these women have been doing. But a lot of unambiguous women have been riding the coattails of these women. They're riding the coattails of their fan base. Like Cardi B is another example. Cardi B was never promoting herself just to an unambiguous female audience. She wasn't. Even if you think about her music, she didn't care about being called colorist either. Usually if somebody is pro-black, obviously they're not going to call people roaches or they're not going to name themselves Latto or say that they're not black like how Cardi B did. So it's funny how the unambiguous female sector, they believe that they are the center of these women's music. They literally just volunteered themselves as being the core audience of these mixed women, when they're really not. The music is not geared towards them, but they have a habit of monitoring women who are mixed. A lot of them are monitoring spirits, but guess what? Women get paid off of you being a monitoring spirit because you're watching their videos, you're talking about them. You're going to cause more people to go search them up now. And a lot of Exoticals, we know this, and that's why we have used reverse psychology to become more popular. We do that all the time. We use reverse psychology to make money. A lot of Exotical celebs, they use reverse psychology and rage bait to get people talking about their projects. It's been working for years, and clearly it worked with these two women. And just like how there are dark-skinned black women who make black girl music, there are also mixed women who make mixed girl music, and their whole aesthetic is supposed to be based on being a mixed girl, and their whole, their music videos and their concepts are based on being a mixed girl, and their lifestyle is that of a mixed girl. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with somebody who doesn't care about, centering blackness. Just because someone's not centering dark-skinned blackness, it doesn't make them colorist or racist. You can be pro-mixed race without being anti-black. And also their definition of anti-black changes because, on one hand, they'll say that if you name call, then it means you're racist, right? So if you call people monkeys and stuff, that's racist. Oh, but Latto must not be racist, though, because you guys are still listening to her music when she called her friend an orangutan. And then, I'm assuming that most of them don't think Rihanna's racist, even though she had a baby with a guy who said that women are too dark to wear red lipstick. So it's like, what is a colorist? You guys keep changing your definition of what a colorist is. And then there are some people that you forgive for being colorist, and then there are other people that you don't forgive for being colorist. So clearly these women have stopped caring. The mixed community doesn't care. It's not our problem to solve. That's another thing too. The mixed community, they're not your saviors. Biracial people are not the saviors or the social justice warriors. Some women don't want to be social justice warriors. Their music doesn't have to be a political statement against colorism. Some women are just having fun making a ratchet music video and twerking to a guy in prison. And for the people who say that Latto is from the suburbs, she's not even from the ghetto, okay, well, guess what? Maybe this is her alter ego then. Just like how Beyonce had an alter ego, sometimes music artists, they have an alter ego. So maybe her alter ego is this ghetto girl from the hood, and that's a part of her artistry. And so people have a right to create whatever art they want. A lot of people in the Black community, they try to silence you out of your creativity. They try to silence you out of your art. And I think that if people truly are offended by having dark-skinned men in this music video, then they should, report that to somebody or boycott it. But I don't see Black men boycotting it. I don't see Black men, getting mad that they are the love interest or the sexual interest in this music video. I don't see them getting mad that Doja Cat and Latto are dancing for them. Now, would I go and do this? No. Would I tell the Exoticals to do this? No. But sometimes women just want to make money, and they just want to use the male gaze so they can make money, especially as a female rapper. And I think that the male gaze is a part of what's sustaining these women. We all know that a lot of these women are ex-workers, and I'm not saying for sure that that's what Latto and Doja Cat do, but even with Sweetie, people were like, oh, well, she's an ex-worker. Okay, so if a lot of these mixed rappers are ex-workers anyway, then it makes sense that they would make videos where they're looking sexy and talking about that. And, maybe those men are their customers. I don't know. Also, I found it interesting how some of the videos on YouTube, they were saying how Latto and Doja Cat both look white. They're like, oh, well, these women look white, and then they're being worshipped by these men who are dark-skinned. Wait a minute, no. Just a few months ago, you guys were saying that both Doja Cat and Latto just look black. So do you see how they throw you in and out of blackness, depending on what their argument is? First, you had people saying Doja Cat looks just black because her hair is 4C. They're like, oh, well, she has nappy hair, so she just looks black. She doesn't even look biracial at all because her hair's too nappy. First, you had Black women saying that. And then same with Latto, people were saying that her face, her facial features, because she has broad features, people are saying, oh, well, she just looks black. But then when you put those two women next to actual Black people, when you put them next to actual Black men, then suddenly, oh, wait, actually, no, you look white. So just like I said, the sisterhood is not real. So they will lie to biracials, and they're going to lie and say, oh, you don't look biracial, you don't look mixed at all, you just look black. And then they'll try to pull up pictures of you with a tan or something. They'll try to pull up pictures if you have 4C hair, like what they did with Doja Cat. And they're like, see, look, she just looks black. But then when they're amongst themselves, when they're commenting on these dark-skinned Black YouTube channels that talk about colorism, when they think that us Exoticals can't see their comments and stuff, then they admit, oh, actually, no, we view both of these women as looking white, despite them having 4C hair. So whenever they want to humble you or try to convince you that you don't look like you're part white, they'll be like, oh, well, the white man still sees you as Black. But then now, in this music video, they're saying, oh, wait, actually, no, you don't look Black at all. You look white. And I also saw some people saying that Latto and Doja Cat are both ashamed to be Black. Well, if Latto was ashamed to be Black, she wouldn't have named herself mulatto. That name itself actually is associated with being mixed with Black. And then same with Doja Cat. She would have never showed her 4C hair. She would have never talked about her dad being from Africa. She would have never promoted that at all. And I find it interesting how a lot of unambiguous Black women, they're so fascinated with mixed women's self-esteem level. They're so fascinated. But then if I make content talking about their self-esteem level, then I'm being colorist and I'm being racist. But then you've got them trying to dissect and psychoanalyze Doja Cat and Latto. And they're ignoring Coco Jones and Ari Lennox. They're ignoring Lizzo. They're ignoring all these Black artists who would love to get this kind of attention. Coco Jones would love for you to make videos about her music video, but they're not. They'd rather talk about the almighty, the most popular, the most talked about, we're the most hated, the most admired, the most pedestalized in these women's eyes. Women with inferiority complexes, they can't help but talk about Exoticals. Their channels would go nowhere if they didn't discuss Exotical celebrities. And also, let's say that Lotto and Doja Cat, let's say they are trying to send the message that like biracial women get worshipped by dark-skinned black men. Okay, so they're just repeating what they heard black women saying. They're just repeating the same talking points that they say on colorism channels, which is that biracials are pedestalized. So why is it okay when a black woman says it, then it's not okay when a biracial woman says the same thing? And then I saw some black women commenting. They were like, oh, well, Lotto, her boyfriend doesn't even look that dark skinned. Her boyfriend's not dark skinned. The 21 Savage guy, she was like, well, her boyfriend's not black, so what is he going to think of seeing dark skinned buff men in the video? 21 Savage is skinny and brown skin. And it's like, oh, wait a minute. So now you finally understand the entire skin tone spectrum. And you're also analyzing this mixed woman's boyfriend or what her relationships are. And you're comparing her sexual fantasy to who her boyfriend is. Do you see the microscope? Like I said, our pedestal is in the sky. I mean, you got women dissecting Lotto's sexual preferences. They were dissecting Doja Cat's sexual preferences. And then I saw people were like, oh, both of these women, they have on blonde wigs and they're both leaning into looking white. No, they're not leaning into looking white. That's just called being mixed. They're mixed. That's how they look. You know, that's their skin tone. Lotto has naturally blonde hair. So no, it's not that they're maliciously leaning into being white. That's actually pretty hilarious. They're just leaning into being white so they can have more power over you. They're leaning into being white. That's not fair. They shouldn't be doing that. They should be leaning into being black. But then if they do that, then I'm going to accuse them of trying to be black. Lotto. And also, it's funny because now when it comes to biracial women, they're saying that wearing straight blonde wigs, that's trying to be white. You know, you're leaning into whiteness. But then if a dark-skinned black woman wears a 613, I can't say that she's trying to lean into whiteness. You know, you'll say, oh, this isn't white hair. This is Indian hair. This is Brazilian. This is Malaysian. So where did that talking point go? Why can't I make that argument about Doja Cat and Latto? Maybe they're not leaning into being white. You don't know what kind of hair that is. That could be Malaysian. That could be Brazilian blonde weave. And by the way, neither of them is wearing a 613 either. They're not wearing platinum blonde. They're wearing honey blonde or ash blonde. So they proved my point again. If you're black and you wear blonde, you're just expressing yourself. But if you're biracial and you wear blonde, you're leaning into whiteness. You're trying to be white. And then they were like, oh, having muscular black men in the background, you're trying to make it look like Giselle and LeBron James, which is kind of like they did a play on Beauty and the Beast. Okay, so you're admitting that you think black people look beastly then. You said it, not me. You're basically implying that if you're black and muscular, you look like a beast, and then Lotto and Doja Cat are just looking like beauties. Meanwhile, their music video said nothing about Beauty and the Beast. It did not have that theme at all. They were just literally standing there while the guys were washing the cars in the background. But apparently that equates to a Beauty and the Beast fetishization of blackness. And then I saw people saying that like, they were saying that the black men in the background, that they look like black savages. Like, what? So if you're black and dark skinned, apparently that equates to you being a savage. And then like Lotto and Doja Cat are just these princesses. It's like, ma'am, you are exposing your own internalized anti-blackness. You're literally equating dark skin and muscles to being a savage. And then Myoa's world, she's like, oh, you view dark skin as being a form of servitude. Like the dark skin people are protecting you. And it's like, actually you view dark skin as being a form of servitude because there was nothing in the music video that gave, oh, they're serving them because they're dark skinned. Also, what's wrong with a man serving a woman? Like, is it supposed to be that you're muling for the man? Just because you're used to a dynamic where the woman is muling and serving the man, that doesn't mean Lotto and Doja Cat have to do that. So if they want to have a music video where there are men serving them, regardless of the men's skin color, they have a right to do that. It's their music video. They're paying for it. So they get to decide what creative direction to go in. And have you ever noticed that in the Hotep black community, they try to police people's artwork? You know, because a music video, a song, that's a form of artistry. A music video, that's a form of art. So they try to police your art. Like, you can't use dark-skinned people. Oh, but then if you don't use anyone dark-skinned, then you're also racist because you're not promoting diversity. But then if you do use somebody who's dark-skinned with muscles, it means they're a savage and that they're a slave and that they're just serving you. And it's like, okay, so you're admitting that the only way to do it is it's supposed to be light-skinned people serving the dark-skinned people then. So you're just admitting this is not about social justice. It's about social status. The only way you would be satisfied is if it showed Latto and Doja Cat serving unambiguous dark-skinned black women. That you just want the roles to be reversed. You don't want equality. You want darkness to be at the top. You want blackness and afros and 4C hair and all that to be at the top, and then you want everything else to be serving you. You want everything else to be at the bottom. You want to be the beauty, and then you want the lighter people to be the beast. So that's a form of hierarchy thinking. The only way to get justice is if we reverse the roles. The only way to get justice is if dark-skinned blackness is worshipped. And that's Afrocentrism. That's called being Afrocentric. Everybody is not Afrocentric, though. Everybody is not a hotep. Everybody doesn't center their beauty standards or their art or their music around being African. And also, I find it funny how there's no problem with being Afrocentric, but there is a problem with being Eurocentric or being Asian-centric or being biracial-centric, like Doja Cat and Latto. So there's a problem with centering anything else except for blackness. Blackness is the exception. Everything else is wrong and anti-black. So if it's not Afrocentric, you're anti-black. Those are the only two options, according to the female colorism spaces. And also accusing mixed women, saying that, oh, if you're mixed and you wear blonde hair, you're leaning into being white. And it's like, okay, she is part white. So now what? These girls are part white. So it's not bad if they're leaning into being part white. What if their mothers are white? What if their family members are white? Their grandparents are part white. So I don't view that as offensive at all. There's nothing wrong with women who love their family and they want to look like their family member. That's completely normal. If you're a little girl and you want to look like your mom, that's normal. You want to pay homage to your grandmother or your aunties or your cousins, there is nothing wrong with honoring your family background. There's nothing wrong with honoring your ethnic background, regardless of what you are. So Doja Cat, she's black and she's part Jewish. So if she wants to honor her Jewish ancestry by wearing her hair a certain way, or, if they're part German or part Irish or whatever, and they want to wear their hair in a way that honors a part of their background, I see no problem with that. You got black women who are wearing their hair Brazilian. They've got not a Brazilian ancestor in sight. They have not one Brazilian ancestor. Not one of their family members is Malaysian. They have 0% Malaysian DNA on their ancestry test, yet they're wearing Brazilian and Malaysian hair. So then why is it suddenly a problem if Doja Cat and Latto want to be blonde in their music video? They are actually related to people who are white. They're actually related to people who could have blonde hair. So that's actually, it makes more sense for them to actually wear blonde hair versus someone who doesn't even have any relatives of Malaysian or Indian ancestry, yet they're walking around with Indian hair. And by the way, for all the black women who are suddenly putting on a cape for black men, according to your own talking points, black men don't give a fuck about your representation in music videos. Black male rappers and stuff, they're not putting you in music videos. So why are you defending what kind of music videos they're being in? So do you see how it's another bad social climbing tactic? Constantly defending people who aren't defending you, coming against random mixed women who really don't give a fuck about you. You're really not the core audience of that music video. You're probably not even the core audience of their brand in general. Otherwise, they wouldn't have promoted being mixed. Doja Cat and Latto, they come off as promoting themselves to a multiracial and a multicultural audience, not a black-centered audience. And so for the people who say all these talking points, oh, mixed women aren't black, well, biracials aren't black. Okay, so then why do you care about these two non-black women? Why do you care about their music video? They're not black. Why are you focusing and making videos on non-black women? And I find it interesting how a lot of them follow Mayowa's World, who is a black lesbian woman. It's like, okay, so you got a black lesbian woman. She doesn't even like men at all. She doesn't like men. She doesn't date men. And then she's caping for men who, generally speaking, don't even like women who look like her, according to her own talking points. So it's like, why are you randomly if you're desperate for content, just say it. If you're desperate to make another video, just say it. If you're desperate for views and likes and subscribers, just say that. If you need to talk about exotical celebrities in order to stay relevant, just admit that. And also, ironically, somebody commented on Mayowa's video and they're like, You remind me so much of Sierra. Sierra is not dark skinned at all. And she wears her hair blonde. All the blonde wigs that Mayoa just came against in her video. Sierra is known for wearing blonde. So this person said, "Oh my God, you remind me of Sierra, the way you speak, your mannerisms, and your energy." And then Mayoa says, "Oh, I hear that at random seasons. She's so pretty, so I'll take it. Thank you." So you're viewing it as a compliment to be compared to a blonde woman who is lighter than you while simultaneously making a video against blonde women who are lighter than you. But then you also had women saying that Latto and Doja Cat were erasing black women. So apparently, if you're a singer or a rapper, you're not allowed to make music videos because that's erasure. So creating a song, how dare you create music, Doja Cat? You're erasing black women. How dare you create a music video, Latto? You're erasing black women by simply creating art. And has anyone else noticed that, like, you can create art when you're dark skinned and black, and then you'll have the black community ignoring it. But suddenly, if somebody's biracial, if they're light skinned, they're blonde or whatever, then it's like, oh no, you're not allowed to do this. Leave the artwork to the black people. Let black people be the blueprint and the creators of all art. Oh, well, black people created every genre of music, and Abraham Lincoln is black, and Moses is black, and Jesus is black, and Mary was dark-skinned, and Cleopatra was dark, and had 4C hair. It's like everybody's black, everything just has to be black. Only dark-skinned black people with 4C hair are allowed to create anything. And then if you create something and it is successful, then you get accused of erasing dark-skinned black women. And it's like, how is somebody erasing you? These are just two random women. There are billions of black people in this world. How is it that these two biracial girls, by simply making a music video, they're erasing all of the billions of black, dark-skinned women all over the world? They're erasing you. Oh my God, your image is now erased. You have been so heavily outshined by these two girls shaking their asses in a video that suddenly, oh my God, you no longer exist. You're erased. You have been deleted from Earth because these women came and shut it down. If that's not pedestalization, I don't know what is. Because, bitch, nobody can erase me. Nobody will ever be able to erase the Exoticals United community. They can't erase my voice. They can't erase my image. And so I find it interesting that they're giving biracial women so much power. They're giving the Exoticals so much power to erase them. If you come online and you look pretty and you make a video, you have now erased billions of women. And then I saw people commenting saying that the colonizers are promoting our erasers to us in the algorithm. So if you're an Exotical, you are an eraser of the black community. Meanwhile, you have black women themselves who are fighting to create Lattos. They're fighting to create more Doja Cats. They're fighting to date white men so they can then get married and have babies that look like Latto and Doja Cat. And I find it interesting how they'll blame everyone but themselves. So they'll be like, oh, it's the algorithm that is promoting these women who are erasing us. No, your algorithm is curated based on what you click on. So the algorithm knows, okay, she's easily rage baited. So let me promote Doja Cat. Let me put Latto in her algorithm. I know she's going to click on that. I know she's going to hate watch that video. I know she's going to doom scroll on all of the Exotical content. So no, it's not that the algorithm is racist, it's that you keep voluntarily clicking on and talking about women who are lighter than you. And by the way, I see people saying that there's a double standard because Latto is a baby mama and still gets praise. And it's like, okay, so you're just mad because you wanted to be able to get away with being a baby mama. You're mad that biracial women get away with being baby mamas. You're mad that Exoticals get away with being ratchet and get rewarded for it. So you're basically just admitting that it's a form of jealousy. You wish that you could get away with the types of behaviors that these women are doing. And I see a lot of people, they're comparing Latto to a lot of black female celebrities who are like single moms. And they're like, oh, well, a lot of black women, they get called everything but a child of God. And it's like, okay, so you are worried about black men's opinions then. You're mad that black men think more highly of women who are mixed. That's what it sounds like. That's what they're admitting. So they're black male centered then. So just like I said, this was never about social justice. The colorism argument was always about social status. It was always about, well, what do black men think? Well, that's not fair. Black men don't make fun of biracial women as much. Well, that's not fair. Biracial women, they get to be baby mamas and they still get to date black men. Well, that's not fair. Black women, they get demonized in the media, and then biracial women, they get praised by black men. Okay, so you're black male centered. Everything you do on your channel, every talking point that you're mad about, it has to do with how black men perceive biracial women. And a good example of this is the channel You're Triggered. She's a great example of this. She's very black male centered in her talking points. Well, what do black men think of biracial women? Oh, well, they're still praising them. What do black men think? What do black men like? Oh, it's not fair. Black men liked Doja Cat and Latto, so I'm mad now. So it's all male centered. It's all about the male gaze. Oh, well, I'm mad that these dark-skinned black men are dancing in a video with light-skinned girls. You should be dancing with dark-skinned girls. That's not fair. Those are our men. Those are our black men that the biracial women are taking. Male-centered. And then I see people who are like, oh, Latto, she's just another Alicia Keys messing with married men. Well, why did they specifically say Alicia Keys out of all the possible people? Well, it's because they're stereotyping. Oh, if you're biracial, you're going to steal somebody's man. They're so scared that you're going to come in and steal her black man or whatever. They're scared that you're going to sleep with a married guy and like steal him. So again, it's a scarcity mindset. Oh, there are only so many men in this world, so now I'm mad that these dark-skinned guys were dancing in a music video. First of all, those guys are employees. They're getting paid. So it's like, are they supposed to not work now? Are people not supposed to get paid because they're dark-skinned? Like, are you banning dark-skinned background dancers from being in music videos with people lighter than them? If that's not colorism, I don't know what is. That's why I always say, who's the real colorist? And also for all the people who are like, oh, well, Latto, she's ratchet. She was just a side chick. Okay, so then why are you even listening to side chick music? You shouldn't even know that she has new music. Why is Latto even in your algorithm? Why is she in your playlist? Why is she in your ear then? Why are you allowing these women? You should just let them fade off into irrelevancy. If they're just side chicks and, you know, you're judging them based on their relationship status. And that's another thing. Have you ever noticed that a lot of black women with inferiority complexes, they put your relationship status on a hierarchy? So obviously being married is number one. That's at the top. Being a trad wife, especially to a white man, that's at the top. Being married to someone white or non-black, that's number one on the hierarchy. Number two would be, I guess, being married to a black man. If she's a black male-centered woman, then she's going to promote, oh, you need to be married to that black man. But then those women, the black male-centered women, they never give examples of this high-value black man. They never give examples. All you know is that that creator is married to a black man, and she's 50-50, by the way, as is the case with YouTubers like You're Triggered. She literally talked about that on her channel, about her own background, you know, being married to somebody black and being in a 50-50, you know, she's in a non-hypergamous marriage. So these are the leaders of the unambiguous dark-skinned black community. And then I see people trying to get their revenge on Latto by saying, ha ha, that's why your relationship is not going to last. And it's like, okay, a woman's value doesn't come from her relationship status to begin with. So why are we randomly focusing on who's in a relationship and who's not? As a matter of fact, people called me a hater for talking about Olandria's relationship. So isn't it interesting? If I talk about Olandria's relationship, I'm a hater. But then when people talk about Latto or anybody biracial, Doja Cat, etc., then that's not being a hater. That's just being on the internet. And by the way, saying that Latto is getting praise for being pregnant by that guy, she's actually not. I didn't see anybody praising Latto for that. I saw Latto getting bashed, just like how other women would get bashed. So that's another thing. Like, no matter how much suffering you go through, when it comes to women with inferiority complexes, your suffering is never enough. You need to always suffer more. Just like Nara Smith, when her baby got cancer, they didn't say in the black community, oh, we have sympathy. No, they literally started laughing and making fun of her baby having cancer. So whatever suffering you go through, it's never enough. You always have to go through more. But then if you were to do that same behavior to somebody dark-skinned, then you're being colorist and you're being a sociopath. And then they'll be like, oh, well, a lot of black women get shamed for not seeing red flags. Okay, shamed by who? By other black women. So why are you taking out your anger on random biracial women? You're getting shamed the most by black women and probably black men. So why are you taking your unambiguous black problems and then projecting them onto the biracial community? Oh, well, I got shamed for being pregnant. Oh, well, I get shamed for being a side chick. Well, I get shamed for being ratchet. So now I'm going to try to randomly shame this biracial woman. Also, Have you ever noticed how in some parts of black culture they use shame as a weapon? Shame is their weapon against you. And then I see people, they're saying, oh, well, Latto, she's a glorified side chick. Okay, so then why are you making videos for your female black audience? Why are you even making videos about a glorified side chick? Like, that is so far beneath being a classy, upstanding, leveled up, dark skinned black woman, right? Why are you talking about such coonery? Why are you talking about such buffoonery? If this is such biracial buffoonery, why are you even mentioning it on your channel? It's so far beneath you, right? So why are you making 3 hour long live streams? Because you're mad that a random woman that you don't know chose to have a baby by this random dusty guy. Why are you making a 3 hour live? If it's so far beneath, I have never in my life made a 3 hour live stream solely discussing one person and solely discussing a person that I don't know, a random celebrity, because I'm mad that she got pregnant by somebody black. She got pregnant by this random black man and she's a side chick. So I'm going to stream about her for 3 hours. Instead of making a passive income on YouTube by pre-recording the videos and just uploading them and going about my day, instead of doing that, no. I got to sit there and trade my time for money now and do a 3 hour live stream just so I could talk about this random biracial chick. And I've noticed one of the flaws in the unambiguous community is they're very good at talking about how people did things wrong. They're very good at pointing out people's flaws and their wrongdoings, but then they never tell their audience how to do it right. They never tell their audience how to do things the correct way. They just randomly say, hey, this music video is wrong. They shouldn't have put dark-skinned people in it. Oh, hey, she shouldn't have got pregnant by this guy. Oh, she shouldn't have worn that wig. Well, she's leaning into whiteness. So they can name all these things that people do wrong. They can name all the things that other black women are doing wrong. They can name 100 flaws about black men or the black family. But then they never have any actual solutions. They do not make solution-oriented content. It's really just gossip content. It's just celebrity gossip channels. Oh, let's gossip about the girls who are prettier than us and the girls who are going to be richer than us. Let's gossip about them. Oh, well, let's talk about how she got a boob job and she has scars. She actually has scars on her boobs. Let's talk about that. Latto, she's just wearing shapewear. Let's talk about her shapewear and how she only looks snatched because she's wearing a girdle. That's the only reason she looks snatched. I'm not going to offer any solutions to actually uplift the black female community. No, I'd rather spend 2.5 hours on a live stream talking shit about somebody else while offering no real solutions for my audience. And that is why a lot of women will never be able to social climb. It's because even if you look at their algorithms, if you look at the types of channels they're watching, they never make videos on like how to social climb. Like I'm talking about a detailed 90-minute or 2-hour live stream, how to social climb, how to level up. Story time about how I did it. You know, this is what my life looks like with thin privilege or with whatever. And it's like, for all these women, especially the ones who are talking about Latto's relationship status, these women are usually in 50-50 marriages to dusty black men. And it's like, okay, fine. If your marriage is so good, well, then why don't you tell your audience how to meet a high value, wonderful man like yours then? Why didn't you tell the story of how you guys met and how you guys got together and, you know, all the trips he took you on for your birthday and everything? Like, why aren't you ever giving the blueprint to your fellow blueprints? If you have the answers, why don't you ever give them? Oh, that's right, because the sisterhood doesn't exist. You just want to grift your audience into watching your channel so that you get paid by talking shit about Exoticals while not actually helping unambiguous black women. You want those black women in your audience to continue suffering, and you want to use gossip as a form of escapism. So you're just teaching black women mental masturbation. It's basically just an escape mechanism. Oh, look at how much she's suffering. But then you as a black woman are not actually helping those black women to like have better lives. You're just kind of like soothing them. You're kind of lulling them to sleep. You're trying to convince them that they're woke, but in reality they're not because their lives still are dusty. She's still a Dustisha once she logs off of that live stream. She is still dusty once she finishes watching these quote unquote black empowerment videos. And then for all the creators who are making content where it's like, oh, this is the preference to baby mama pipeline. What if I made a series talking about how you're the non-preference to baby mama pipeline? Because at least people can get paid off of being somebody's preference. They can get not only the child support, but they can also change their lives after having the baby. They can do something with their life or with their pretty privilege. What if I made a series called Non-Preference to Baby Mama Pipeline? Well, my whole channel would be gone. I would be called racist for doing that. And that's another thing. They're celebrating you being in the same category as them, because who gets the number one stereotype of being baby mamas? It's dark-skinned, unambiguous black women. So they celebrate when somebody joins them. That's why I say misery loves company. They celebrate when a biracial baby mama is created. So, like I said, they're not real feminists. They're not pro-woman. They definitely don't have a sisterhood, because they like to see a woman suffer if they feel like that woman is more privileged than her. So if she's white, for example, and she becomes a baby mama, yes, she's suffering. Yes, I'm so happy that an innocent mixed child got abandoned by their father. Yes, I'm celebrating that. Yes, I'm happy that Nara Smith's baby has cancer. Oh, I'm so happy that Latto is a baby mama now. I'm so happy that this innocent child is going to come from a broken home. But then I want you to have empathy for me, a dark-skinned black woman who comes from a broken home. I want you to have empathy for me. I want you to give me reparations. I want you to give me affirmative action. I want you to give me scholarships. I want you to give me access to HBCUs, and I want you to give me opportunities. I want you to put me, promote me in the dating algorithm for the dating apps. I want you to do all that to make up for me coming from a broken home and a broken community, but I'm going to celebrate when a biracial woman comes from a broken community. I'm going to celebrate when innocent mixed children have a broken life. I'm going to celebrate when they get cheated on. I'm going to celebrate when Danny Lay gets abused. I'm going to celebrate when mixed women get unalived by their partners, which actually has happened in the Black empowerment community. People have actually made live streams before celebrating when mixed women get unalived by their partners. But if I were to do that, I'd be considered racist. So do you see why a lot of them have a hard time making and keeping friends? It's because, on the one hand, they'll say things like, oh, we're all black at the end of the day. Oh, well, we're all women at the end of the day. Women should support women. But then when you look at their channels, they're actually not. They're secretly running burner accounts where they're celebrating pretty women being mistreated. They're celebrating dark-skinned babies being cursed. They're saying, oh, I'm happy that Danny Lay had a dark-skinned child because, that's karma. She got cursed by having a kid that's dark-skinned. Oh, but I support dark-skinned, though. I promote dark-skinned. But your baby is cursed if she's dark-skinned and mixed. And also, my question is why is it that when it comes to dark-skinned black women, they have the freedom to change if they want? So let's say she is a baby mama and she's dark-skinned and black. She will go to school, she'll get educated, she'll raise her daughter properly or whatever. Maybe she gets married. Why can't Latto be doing the same thing? I'm not saying that I support Latto getting pregnant by that guy, because I don't. But it's okay, what if Latto realizes her mistake and now she wants to move on? Now she wants to make music videos and talk about other stuff. And, now she wants to collect her money and then she wants to leave that guy. You don't know what Latto is going through. So I just find it interesting how they practice selective empathy. That's why I promote on my channel that you should practice selective empathy. I'm not empathizing with any woman who doesn't empathize with me. I am not relating to any woman who can't relate to me. I am not taking advice from any woman that I wouldn't trade lives with. So if you're a dark-skinned black lesbian woman making content about exotical heterosexual relationships, or if you're a dark-skinned black woman in a 50-50 or hypogamous marriage with a dark-skinned black man, I also will not be taking any advice from you or, looking to you as the expert on what these women should have done correctly in their relationships. Have you ever noticed that the main person giving advice or the main person creating the content, they never actually have the results of the thing that they're talking about? They do all this talking about, oh, you should level up, you should swirl. And then that woman herself is not in a swirled relationship. She's not in a successfully swirled relationship. She's a fake divester herself. She literally was dating a black guy, a black alcoholic man for 8 years or something. It's you're making fantasy content. This is more so what you wish was the truth. You're making content about things that you wish were true, not things that are actually true. You're giving advice based on who you wish you were, not based on who you actually are. You're saying that, oh, Latto, she's very dusty or whatever, And it's like, okay, even if her relationship is dusty, like I agree, a lot of these women actually have dusty relationships, but that doesn't mean that the song was bad. Like you're trying to use something unrelated to disqualify her because you just don't like her. You just don't like her. So that's why you're just randomly, you can't come for her song. You can't come for her looks. You can't come for her face card. You can't come for her stomach. You can't come for her weight. And so I noticed that they have this pattern where when they can't come for your beauty, they try to name something else random. Like, oh, well, that's why you're broke, or that's why your man doesn't love you. That's why you don't have a man. That's why you can't keep a man. That's why you can't get a ring. You know, they start coming up with all these random talking points. And in regards to this dusty guy that's with Latto, it's like, okay, is she supposed to cancel her music career now? Like, does she not deserve to make music now? Does she not deserve to make money now? Should she cancel being in Hollywood now because she made a mistake with this dusty guy? So I'm not defending it. I'm not saying that she should do that, but it's like, why is it that when it's a woman who's privileged, you know, a lot of people, they want her to stay down. And it's like, well, what is she supposed to do? Was she supposed to abort? You know, should she give up the baby for adoption now? Is she supposed to go back in time and change this? You know, you can't change the past. And I feel like a lot of people in the Black community, they make a lot of shoulda, coulda, woulda content. Well, Latto should have done this. Well, she could have done that. Well, if she would have done this, then she would have turned out like that. It's like, okay, that's shoulda, coulda, wouldas. None of what you're saying is actually helpful in the present moment. And that's why your community is saying that they're at the bottom. It's because a lot of you guys are too focused on shoulda, coulda, wouldas. You're not focused on how to make your path better for the future. And it seems like Latto is attempting to at least make money. At least she's attempting to make money and work on her music. At least she didn't quit her career for this guy, which we've seen a lot of dark-skinned Black women do. Quit their careers over a guy, move in with a guy that they just met, move in within 90 days, quit their job, move across the country, move across America, you know, become a passport sis. She moves to a new country for a guy. So it's like all this smoke that you're giving Latto, are you going to give that same smoke to the millions of dark-skinned Black women who are not famous, who do the same behavior? And I've noticed that the undertone of a lot of their content is that marriage is the prize and marriage is the number one priority at all costs. But then the woman creating the content, she'll be married, but then she doesn't tell you how she got married. She doesn't tell you any details about her relationship at all. She doesn't give any advice on like how to help her audience. She'll just say, oh, well, you should have been married. Latto should have been married. Well, she could have been married by now. Well, everything good that Latto has done in her life is now canceled because she's a single mother. Everything good that she's done is now canceled out because she had a baby, so now she is not valid as a person. And you already know, if you were to say that same thing to somebody who's dark-skinned and Black, oh my God, you'd instantly be canceled. But what do you ladies think? Let me know in the comment section, and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.